You know, we're all negotiating all the time. Whether it's buying a car, asking for a raise, or heck, just deciding what's for dinner, you are negotiating. The real question is, are you getting what you really want?
So for this, we're diving into the brilliant book, Getting More of What You Want. The whole idea here is actually pretty simple. If you understand a little bit about economics and a little bit about psychology, you can sidestep these common traps and get so much more out of every deal you make.
All right, to really get this, let's jump right into a story. Picture this. You're a product manager at a huge pharmaceutical company, and a deal lands on your desk that looks like an absolute career-making, surefire win.
Now, just as he's about to close this amazing deal, that's what his professors told him. Can you imagine? He was completely floored. I mean, from where he was sitting, this deal was absolutely perfect. So here's the setup. A doctor offered to sell the company a patent for $3.5 million. The student ran the numbers, and his math showed the patent was worth over $4 million to them. That's a guaranteed profit of at least $600,000 right off the bat. He's thinking, hey, if I haggle a bit, I can get it for even less and be the office hero.
So what's the catch? I mean, a deal that instantly nets your company $500,000. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? He was ready to sign on the dotted line, but his professors stopped him. The problem, they said, wasn't in his spreadsheet. It was in his perspective.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. When they stopped and actually looked at it from the doctor's point of view, everything changed. See, the patent's royalties were worth about $5 million to him. So why on earth would he sell it for $3.5 million? Any deal has to make sense for both people, and this right here was a massive red flag.
And here is the big reveal. The doctor knew something the student didn't. A brand new technology was just around the corner that would make that patent totally obsolete. So by walking away from that sure win, the student's company didn't just miss out on a $600,000 profit. They dodged a $3.5 million bullet.
Okay, so this whole story, it just blows up a huge myth about negotiation. For decades, we've been taught that the whole goal is to find a win-win, to just get to an agreement.
But what this book argues is that this getting to yes thinking can be a huge trap. The goal isn't just to reach an agreement, any agreement. The goal is to get a good agreement, one that actually makes you better off. It's not just about creating value together, it's about making sure you walk away with the biggest slice of the pie possible.
I mean, think about it, right? If your only goal is to get to yes, you could just agree to the first offer every single time. The real win isn't the handshake. It's walking away better off than you started.
So you might be wondering, how did this smart student almost walk right into this disaster? Well, he wasn't being foolish. He was falling for these invisible psychological forces that get all of us when we're trying to make a deal.
Turns out there was 3 big traps. First up, the power of a familiar story. They'd worked with this doctor for a decade, so his explanation just seemed believable. Second, he confused precision with accuracy. His spreadsheets were perfect, down to the last decimal, but they were all built on one giant false assumption. And finally, and this is a big one, the lure of getting to yes. Closing a deal feels good, it feels like success, and that feeling made it way too easy to ignore those glaring warning signs.
And you know, these invisible forces, they don't just lead us into bad deals. A lot of the time, they stop us from even trying to negotiate. And the price of that silence? Well, it's absolutely staggering over the long run. All right, let's break this down with a really simple example based on a real study. Meet Chris and Fraser. They both get the exact same job offer, $100,000. Fraser just accepts it, but Chris decides to negotiate and gets a pretty modest 7.4% raise, starting at $107,400.
Now, when you look at it like this, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right? Just over $7,000. You might think, is it really worth the awkward conversation to ask for more?
But what happens when you play that out over an entire career? When every single future raise, every bonus, is based on that slightly lower starting number? The real cost, it's just mind-blowing.
Get this, Fraser would have to work 8 extra years just to have the same amount of money as Chris when they both retire. 8 years! All from avoiding one single 5-minute conversation. That is the staggering cost of staying silent.
Okay, so how do we fight back? How do we avoid these traps and actually start getting what we deserve? It all starts with something that's completely within your control, your own expectations.
There's this really fascinating psychological concept called stereotype threat. It's basically the fear that you'll confirm a negative stereotype about a group you belong to. And that fear creates anxiety. And here's the kicker. It actually lowers our own expectations for ourselves and hurts our performance.
And this isn't just theory. It's been proven again and again. Check this out. In one study, when a golf task was called a test of sports intelligence, black athletes did worse. But when it was called a test of natural athletic ability, white athletes did worse. The same thing happened on a math test. When Asian female students were reminded that they were women, they scored lower than when they were reminded that they were Asian, a group with a positive math stereotype.
So what does all this tell us? It points to a really powerful idea about setting goals. The point of setting a high goal for yourself in a negotiation isn't just about hitting that exact number. The very act of setting a higher, bolder target actually changes how you act, how you prepare, and how you perform. You aim higher, you get more.
So if you're going to make one change, just one, after hearing all this, what should it be? It's this simple. Set higher expectations. If you want to get more, you have to start by wanting more. It's how you break that cycle and totally change the game in your favor.
And that brings me to my final question for you. Take a look at your week ahead. That quick chat with your boss, that call about the home repair quote, even figuring out where to go for dinner with your friends. Which one of those is actually a negotiation in disguise? A chance for you to get more of what you want?